Hi folks, it's Ivo here from Thundermist Lure Company, and welcome to today's episode of Thundermist Fishing Tips. And today I want to talk just a little bit about some generalities about fishing line. Now, if you want, I've got very specific detailed videos. I've got one on mono, I've got one on fluoro, and I've got one on braid. I'll put the links in the description for you if you want to get into more detail on those particular lines. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about line maintenance and generalities on fishing line that hopefully will help you for a better day on the water. So the first thing is with braided line, let's talk about durability. Braided line, if you've spooled up with braided line, it's going to last you the year, no problem. I've used braided line year over year with no issues at all. Typically just cut off a little bit off the end and you're good to go. Very, very durable line. It's typically more expensive than fluoro or mono for sure, but you're going to get longevity out of it. It's going to last you. Now, as far as mono goes, mono absorbs water, absorbs light, doesn't last as long. So by all means, definitely once a year, you want to get rid of that old mono and put on new mono at a minimum once a year. Sometimes even you could do it if you're fishing a lot, twice a year. Because like I say, and it's not expensive. So you could easily replace mono without a problem, and it's not that costly. So when it comes to mono, change it more often, definitely for sure. Fluorocarbon, on the other hand, is a little more durable, doesn't absorb as much water, doesn't absorb as much light, and will last you longer. So fluorocarbon, once you've spooled up, I would change fluoro every year anyhow to put fresh line on, but it'll definitely last you the year, that's for sure. And the advantage with fluorocarbon also is that it's not as stretchy as mono, but it's not as no stretch as braid. It's in between. It's got a little bit of stretch, but it's still got more of a direct hook set. But what I really like about fluorocarbon is that it's less visible to fish. Now, I get asked a lot about leader line. Now, when you tie a leader line, first of all, with braided line, I always tie a leader line, okay, unless you're going to be fishing for catfish in zero visibility water, okay, you can tie direct with braid for sure. But other than that, fish can see braid. Fish are finicky, and if they see braid going directly to your lure, there's 9 out of 10 aren't going to hit. Of course, you'll always get some to bite, but most won't bite because they'll be spooked by the line. So I always tie a leader line to my braid regardless. Now, with your leader line, let's say you've got a 3-foot leader line or a 6-foot leader line, it doesn't matter, and you're fishing this week, next week, change the leader line. It's only a 3-foot or 6-foot or 8-foot. It's a smaller or a 12-foot, whatever length of leader line you have. I would suggest just snip it off and put a fresh leader line on. That way you know you're always fishing with a good quality line. At a minimum, cut off a foot of that leader line, the part that's been closest to the lure, and get rid of that, and then use the rest of your leader line at a minimum. But again, leader lines are short. You can change them more often and get away with. In particular, when you've tied on a lure, I mean, if you've gone fishing all day, you've gone out, and then a week goes by, and the next week you're going to go out fishing again. At a minimum, retie your lure. Cut and retie and put a fresh knot on there, because that knot, that original knot that you fished with all day last week, has had a lot of pressure on it. Your line might have absorbed a little bit of water. It's gotten a little bit weaker. It's definitely not as strong as it used to be. So at an absolute minimum, next time you go out, it only takes a minute. Cut off your lure, retie your lure on, and you're good to go for another day without having to worry about breaking a fish off. Could be that fish of a lifetime. So, a few simple things that you could do with your fishing line. Keep it fresh and change it, often enough. Like I say, braid less often, mono more often. And that way, at least, if you're going to lose a fish, I don't mind losing fish, but I really hate losing fish because my line broke or something due to the equipment failure. If I lose it on my own accord, fair enough. But at least I want to make sure that I give myself best possible chance to land that fish by having good quality, solid line. Anyhow, folks, I want to thank you ever so much for tuning in to today's episode of Thundermist Fishing Tips. And as always, until next time, good luck and good fishing.